Welcome to the very first episode of Gloop. I've got this like sound wall here. I hope that like helps with the echo a little bit. There may still be a little echo. Anyway, welcome to the very first episode of Gloop. We've got a lot of explaining to do. Well, not really. We're just some minor stuff. I want you guys to kind of understand how this is going to kind of work. So I guess the first thing I should cover is in the last video, I asked you guys what you want me to cover as far as what your favorite shows are, and the top 5 results are in. At the time I'm recording this, there's roughly about 4,000 people who voted, which is great. That's a lot. The number 1 result, which I guess I should have saw this coming, the number 1 result with 23% of the vote, which by the way, that sounds like a really low percentage, but there were 20 shows to pick from, so that's why the percentages are so low. There was a lot of people that voted. There's a lot of shows to pick from. In total, there was 20 shows to pick from. The number 1 result was SpongeBob SquarePants. I imagine that's probably because obviously it's a very popular show. I feel like a lot of people troll voted for that though because of how internet meme-like SpongeBob has become. But whatever, I like SpongeBob, so I'll watch SpongeBob SquarePants, and that's what we cover in today's episode. The second most voted show was Fairly Odd Parents at 15%, which I was kind of surprised by that. I guess I didn't anticipate that. I guess anticipate Fairly Odd Parents would be number 2. Number 3, Goosebumps, which I'm happy to see. I'm a big Goosebumps fan. And 4, The Ren and Stimpy Show. 5, Rugrats. And the list goes on, but those are the top 5 shows that you guys voted for. I'm sorry if I'm not like looking at the camera a whole bunch. This is like a whole new thing. I'm not super used to this. So basically, this first episode, I'm gonna go by what the popular vote is, and the popular vote is SpongeBob. But this means that basically I'm gonna rotate. So like the next episode probably won't be a SpongeBob review. It'll probably be like a Fairly Odd Parents review or something like that. We're gonna rotate out the shows every episode. You probably won't see any 2 episodes in a row be the same show. And like I said before, there's more than just show reviews on this channel. There'll be lots of stuff to break things up. How this works. Okay, so I just personally watched the first episode, season 1, episode 1 of SpongeBob SquarePants. I had a great time. I just watched it ahead of time. This will go differently, I think, for you guys. It kind of depends on what you want to do. I know for a lot of like review channels, it's fun for people to watch the show first, see what it is I upload, watch the show first, get your own impressions, and then comment, watch this video, and see what I think. We can leave comments and talk back and forth and stuff like that. Some people actually like watching this video first. They like watching my review of the show first, and then they like going in after the video, after they watch my video, and then watch the show. You can choose whatever you want to do. I personally, whatever thing floats your boat. Where can you watch the show? SpongeBob. So I'm using a website called justwatch.com. This is actually a very helpful website. You can go to justwatch.com. This isn't like a sponsor or anything like that. It's just actually a very helpful website. You can go there, type in any show you want to watch, and it will tell you currently, as of right now, what streaming service you can actually go and watch the show. And if it's not available on any streaming service, it will tell you where you can buy the show digitally. So for me, in my case, I'm gonna watch everything on DVDs just because I have everything on DVDs. But I want to help you guys find the shows and make it as accessible for you as possible. For example, if something's like on Netflix, I will probably highly recommend you watch it on that because I know a lot of people in my audience probably have Netflix subscriptions. I'm always going to go to what is the easiest way to watch the show. So if you want to know what the easiest way to watch the show that I'm reviewing, there will always be a Just Watch link in the description that you can click on and see. I'll always mention too where you can watch it. So for SpongeBob on streaming service, it looks like the only streaming service, according to JustWatch.com, that currently it's on is Amazon Prime. So if you actually have an Amazon Prime account, you can actually right now log in and watch season 1, episode 1 of SpongeBob SquarePants. So that's on Amazon Prime. It doesn't appear to be on any other streaming service, but you can buy it on a bunch of different things: Google Play, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Vudu, and I think, what is that? The PlayStation Store? I can't remember. PlayStation Vue? I can't remember what it's called. I imagine most of you will probably watch this. I mean, I don't really care how you watch it. Go watch it. I can't personally show any footage, obviously, in the videos because they would get copyright claimed and taken down. So how this is normally going to work is I'll help you guys find where you can watch it, so then we can watch, so you can watch my review, and then we can talk, discuss it together and stuff like that. So episode 1 of SpongeBob SquarePants is kind of a interesting thing. There is a pilot episode called Help Wanted that actually was not on my DVD. I actually had to go on Amazon Prime to watch the first bit, the pilot episode. If you actually get or have the DVD, the pilot episode Help Wanted is actually not on the DVD, surprisingly. I don't know why that is. I would have thought it would be really cool to include the pilot on the season 1 disc, but it's not on there. It's about a 9-minute short, so I don't know. It's really cool. I watched it on Amazon Prime, so we covered everything, so I could cover everything in this. So this first episode of SpongeBob includes the pilot and then 2 other short segments. First one's called Help Wanted, Reef Blowers, Tea at the Tree Dome. The quick synopsis of these episodes is SpongeBob finally applies for a job at the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob finds the perfect use for his high-powered reef blower. SpongeBob meets Sandy Cheeks for the first time. So that's the quick synopsis for these. First aired May 1st, 1999. I was a little hesitant, actually, to include SpongeBob for the very first episode of Gloop because it's barely in the 90s cartoon category. Like I just mentioned, first episode aired in 1999, so we're getting kind of out of the 90s era. But I know I know that's what you guys voted for, so we're gonna cover it. I just watched it. I watched the pilot episode. For a pilot episode, it holds pretty true to the cartoon as it goes on. I know the pilot episodes are always kind of like a little different than what the show usually turns out to become later on. But this, from what I can recollect, stays pretty true to the show, and it doesn't feel like a pilot. It actually just kind of feels like a regular episode of SpongeBob. So let's see. I'm a little spacey. This whole format for this is probably gonna change. I'm not gonna have that long of an intro every time. So sorry for the really long intro. I watched it. Episode called Help Wanted. One thing that I caught from watching it right away was the sound effects and Foley for SpongeBob is actually really good. It's very high quality, and the sound effects, like the very first thing you really hear is like SpongeBob like running, and you can hear like his like shoe squishing sound. Whoever did the Foley for SpongeBob SquarePants, very good stuff. Just all the sound effects. It just sounds like he's walking around. It sounds like somebody walking out in the rain with squishy shoes. That's what SpongeBob sounds like when he's like running around. One interesting little factoid I found out in this episode was Patrick quotes SpongeBob as having his first words be, "May I take your order?" Like SpongeBob is like part of some sort of prophecy for being the like MVP, most valued employee for the Krusty Krab. Like he was born to be a Krusty Krab employee. This first episode sets up the show very good because obviously SpongeBob spends a lot of time in the Krusty Krab later on in the show. That's his like main place of work. And like all these anchovies, like basically SpongeBob and Squidward like joke around and tell him to go find. They basically tell him to go find the equivalent of what it's like to go tell someone to go find like headlight fluid. They tell him to find some crazy spatula or something like that. And it's really funny because he ends up going to like a bargain mart or something, and he actually gets what they think he couldn't find. And the Krusty Krab gets surrounded by anchovies, and the anchovy characters are really funny. It's funny. They show him like serving. He comes to save the day, and he's like serving all the Krabby Patties to all the anchovies, but they never like show the anchovies paying for the food. It just cuts to the next take, and there's just a giant pile of money. We just are supposed to assume that somehow they all paid for their burgers. I don't know. I think it's a really funny segment. I can't remember the name of the song that plays during that little montage of SpongeBob serving all the Krabby Patties, but it's like super iconic. It's like a really old song, but every time I hear it, everyone thinks of SpongeBob SquarePants. It's like this weird, like Hawaiian little ukulele thing. I don't know. It's a funny first episode. It's about 9 minutes long. I really enjoyed it. Not much to say about it. It does a really good job of setting up the tone of the show. Most of the main characters, and kind of like it, even at the very beginning, it just, introduces you to SpongeBob. He lives in a pineapple. That's about all I have to say about the first part of it. Let's see. The second segment's really short. It's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The reef blower thing. The reef blower is what's technically the first episode on this DVD. So that was the pilot. This is, I guess, technically the first episode, which is really weird because it's actually more of a silent cartoon. There's like no words spoken in this. It reminds me of like a oldie time, silent kind of more vintage cartoon where there's like no dialogue. It's just all sound effects and funny things happening. It's like a little silent cartoon. Basically, Squidward throws like a little leaf on SpongeBob's lawn, and it's really funny because I can relate to that. I get like the smallest like little leaf on my own lawn, and it drives me insane. So I guess I can kind of relate to that a little bit. There's one part where he sucks all the water out of the ocean. I think that's like really weird to have happen, or that's like, except that that's like something that actually happened. Like this. And it's really funny too, because when he sucks all the water out of the ocean, for like a split second, you see what like the true color of Squidward is. And it's like much different from what you ordinarily see when he's like actually underwater. It's really weird. SpongeBob apparently looks the same out of water, but Squidward in this first episode, he's like accurate out of water color. It's like way more brown. That's kind of strange. I think in like other episodes, and even in like the movies, when Squidward is like not seen in water, he's just his regular color, I think. It's just a weird like little detail that probably you'll only see in like this short little episode of basically the colors changing. Yeah, so that's basically it for that short little segment. I mean, that's about it. He sucks up a bunch of sand, hilarity ensues. The last and third segment is the longer part of the whole episode, where basically SpongeBob meets Sandy Cheeks. He meets Sandy Cheeks, there's actually this weird part of the first part of the episode where he's like a jellyfish watching or something, and he just randomly puts on this like pair of glasses. It's not really explained why he needs the glasses. He just puts them on for just like a short segment in the episode. I don't know if that's like a sort of a nod to the voice actor of SpongeBob, Tom Kenny, who voices SpongeBob. He wears glasses kind of like that in real life. So I think that was kind of like a short little nod to SpongeBob's voice actor. Because other than that, there's really no explanation. I think he wears the glasses in some other episodes too. I think that's like a short little Easter egg, kind of for people who know more about who voices SpongeBob as a character. So he meets Sandy Cheeks. I always thought Sandy Cheeks looked really weird. She always looks like an astronaut, but it's really more supposed to be like a scuba suit. She explains that it's technically an air helmet. I guess that's what it's technically called. It's funny too because Sandy invites SpongeBob to come over, and I can't remember what it is. Something about she mutters something about she needs air to survive. It's like SpongeBob doesn't really understand what that is. He doesn't understand what air is. So of course he goes to like his Wikipedia friend Patrick to try and find out like what air is, and they're like, Patrick just basically summarizes that air is something for like fancy people. Also, there's this like stupid thing going on throughout the whole video. SpongeBob has to hold up his pinky. It's just something like Patrick strongly encourages SpongeBob to do the whole episode to maintain being fancy. Is hold his pinky up. It's a really weird thing. It's funny, but it makes no sense whatsoever. So I'll just hold my pinky up for the rest of this video. How about that? And so the rest of the episode is basically SpongeBob trying to survive in Sandy Cheeks' dome. The tone of the whole show, and by the way, they set up Sandy Cheeks very well in this. I think that pretty much covers all of the main characters, or at least the major characters in the first little episode. It's really funny. God, trying to see SpongeBob survive without water, and eventually, like, Patrick and SpongeBob, like, I don't know if they don't like die, but they like faint apparently from lack of water. And for like a short segment, you see them like a very realistic version of SpongeBob and Patrick. I don't know. So basically, that's that episode. I thought it was really good. I remember that. I remember watching that on TV, that episode, and it's kind of strange to even think about that because I didn't really realize at the time watching it so much, that episode so much on TV, that is actually the first episode of SpongeBob. I remember that one was reran, or a popular rerun. I remember almost always tuning in like the later 2000s and always seeing that episode. Specifically the part where SpongeBob was trying to survive without water. I also, there's like birds in Sandy Cheeks' like little tree dome. Where did they come from? And also, how does Sandy Cheeks never run out of air? This is like one of those things. Like, how does she never run out of air? She doesn't really explain it. I guess it just keeps sourcing from the tree that's inside of the tree dome. It's like creating oxygen somehow. I don't know. Someone needs to like explain the science of SpongeBob and how Sandy's tree dome apparently works. So yeah, that's basically it. I really like SpongeBob. I think SpongeBob's earlier seasons are probably the best seasons. If I have to remember, I remember things once like the original creator of the show left, and I can't remember which season he leaves, but as soon as that happened, I feel like the show really did start to go downhill. But the very first seasons are really good. I think I'm a big fan of SpongeBob. I like SpongeBob. It's probably not one of my most favorite cartoons from Nickelodeon, just because I feel like SpongeBob has kind of overstayed its welcome as far as like just being a cartoon series. It's just, I feel like Nickelodeon has leaned very hard on SpongeBob and relying on SpongeBob just a little too much. I feel like at the time we're at now, we should have like a newer set of more iconic cartoons, and there's cartoons on Nickelodeon these days, but they're not quite as iconic, obviously, as SpongeBob. I think Nickelodeon just needs to take a breath of fresh air and move on from SpongeBob. But anyway, that's just kind of like my more outside thoughts about the current and bigger picture of SpongeBob and Nickelodeon. But yeah, that's my thoughts kind of on the first episode. I just had a very good, like, warm feeling watching the very first episode. Seeing this how simple everything that gets set up for the show, and there's not anything that's too wild or wacky. I mean, obviously the concept of the show is kind of weird. You've got a squirrel somehow living underwater, which I don't know if that's explained later on, like why Sandy is choosing to live underwater, even though she's like, you know, a land animal. I don't know. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this very first episode of Gloop. This, I hope, made like a kind of a good first impression. I know things will probably go on a little different from here. I'm gonna be a bit more myself on this channel. I'm not gonna be as wacky Chadtronic as you normally see on some of my other channels, because this is just, a lot of people thought that these videos were gonna be like me reacting to the videos themselves or the episodes. Obviously, I can't show those on YouTube. I'd get copyright claimed, and that's not what I really want this to be. I want this channel to be more of like a review. We're watching the show together as if like we all get a fresh start together, watch and enjoy the shows all at our own pace together. I don't know. I thought this whole channel would be a cool idea for that. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. To go watch it after this if you haven't seen it yet. I think the next show we might watch will be either Goosebumps or Fairly Odd Parents. Those seem to be the top 3 you guys wanted me to watch. So this video is probably going to end up being very long. A normal Gloop episode probably won't be this long. Anyway, like the video if you enjoyed it. I hope you guys stay tuned. This is really long. I'm looking at my thing, it's like 20 minutes. That's it, guys. Oh, this is my goose bumps. I almost said gloop bumps. Hello.